He's probably one of the most corrupt people we have in politics now. And what makes it worse is that there are a bunch of people who believe Malema and actually trust him. The problem is that these people who might cost us everything are just not paying attention. During the time of President Thabo Mbeki, he warned that Zuma was corrupt and he fired Zuma from his then vice presidency position for corrupt activities. The best decision he ever made.
The release of then President Jacob Zuma from his responsibilities sent shockwaves across the country. He was implicated in the corruption trial of his former financial advisor, Schabir Shaik.
I've come to the conclusion that the circumstances dictate that in the interest of the Honorable Deputy President, the government, our young democratic system and our country, it would be best to release Honorable Jacob Zuma from his responsibilities as Deputy President of the Republic and member of the Cabinet.
Unfortunately, the ANC brought Zuma back, and South Africa has still not recovered from the looting that occurred during that period. There was so much corruption in that period that it created new corruption rings that are eating the country from the inside to this very day. But Zuma could not have done all of that without the support of Julius Malema, who said the following.
Prepared to take up arms and kill for Zuma.
It's hard to forget these scenes.
Today, we find ourselves on the same path again, with our youth supporting Julius Malema whilst not knowing much about his associations and the source of his lavish lifestyle, among other things. By the time Julius Malema left ANC, he owed SARS 16 million rand in taxes, which means that he had received tens, if not hundreds of millions in rands from somewhere.
Budding realtors, business people and curious locals all queued up for the chance to bid on Julius Malema's Flora Park home in Polokwane. With 3 bedrooms, quality finishings, a sparkling pool and a spacious entertainment area, the house proved to be very popular.
The house is in a very good state of repair. It's new to move in, you can move straight in, and it's also in a middle class area. And in the middle class area, the market is still vibrant. There are still people who want to buy houses.
The successful bid went to local ANC member Emmanuel Makoka for 1.45 million rand.
Now, the luxury half-built home of the expelled ANC member and former ANC youth leader, Julius Malema, went under the hammer for just under 6 million rand in Sandton near Johannesburg on Thursday. This comes after the country's assets forfeiture unit seized his 4 million rand farm in the Limpopo province earlier this year in March. South African authorities claim Malema's Sandton mansion is part of a settlement towards his tax bill, which is said to be in the region of some 16 million rand.
Julius Malema bought this property for more than 3 million rands 4 years ago and razed the original house to the ground to build his dream home. Bought this property for more than 3 million rands 4 years ago and razed the original house to the ground and razed the original house to the ground to build his dream home.
When it's finished, it's going to be the best property in the area without a doubt.
The house boasts an underground garden or sunroom, an underground cinema and a showroom meant for the display of Malema's vehicles. The plans also include a swimming pool, a spa, a wine cellar and a cigar lounge, as well as views of the Sandton skyline.
One house with more than 1.4 million rand, a half-built mansion with more than 5 million rand in Sandton, a farm with more than 4 million rand, and a fleet of cars. He had managed to accumulate all these things during the time that he was ANC Youth League president. But how? How? He even built a house, a double-story house for his grandma in Limpopo, and this was built among houses of very, very poor people in that same neighborhood, already elevating himself and his family above his community. But I thought that socialism and communism means that we are all equal. Maybe I missed something. If he owed SARS 16 million rand, it means that he had pocketed 50 or 60 million rand. But from where? From where? If he owed SARS 16 million rand, it means that he had pocketed 50 or 60 million rand. But from where? From where? One of the greatest heroes of our time, Advocate Thuli Madonsela, told us where that money came from. Malema was a tenderpreneur.
But she believes he did benefit improperly to the tune of 2.2 million rand through a company that was set up solely for the purpose of getting government tenders. Madonsela found that On Point Engineering lied in its bid tender documents that it had 9 years' experience. It had only been set up a few weeks prior to a 52 million rand tender being advertised in 2009. Madonsela now wants On Point Engineering blacklisted and Malema to pay back the loans and dividends he received from the company.
The truth as we see it is always based on the information we could find and our efforts in testing such information against the law, policies and prescripts.
Madonsela says corruption is rife, and this case does expose how politicians and business people collude to milk the state.
He and his partners were awarded tenders from the Department of Transport through bribes. The money was paid into Malema's family trust without even paying taxes, and this is why SARS came and seized those properties to recoup the 16 million rand in taxes.
President Trump is right about what's happening in South Africa. The White House, May 21st, 2025. Today, President Donald J. Trump showed the world the shocking treatment of white farmers in South Africa, including with a video montage that highlighted the discrimination and violence targeted at the innocent minority victims. President Trump was exactly right. We left because of the attacks. You can't stay on a farm as a white person in South Africa. You know you'll be killed, said one South African refugee. New York Post. White South African couple say they're victims of racial attacks and can't wait to be in Trump's America, the Daily Mail. Why white South Africans are fleeing surging violence and racist laws for new lives in America. BBC, I didn't come here for fun. Afrikaner defends refugee status in U.S. Breitbart. Trump vindicated as South Africa. Considers bill to redistribute land on racial lines. BBC, South African president signs controversial land seizure law. The law is vague, stating that expropriation is allowed when it is just and equitable and in the public interest to do so. BBC, close to 70,000 South Africans have expressed interest in moving to the U.S. following Washington's offer to resettle people from the country's Afrikaner community, a business group has said. The New York Times Kill the Boer song fuels backlash in South Africa.
But we are starting with this whiteness. You are cutting the throat of whiteness in Ghana. Shoot to kill. Gamanza. Kill the Bua, the farmer. Kill the Bua, the farmer. Pa. 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 Shoot to kill. Gamanza.
About Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutes. But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon. Yes, please.
A video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that? It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent
what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verify the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to
Yamiche,
show?
what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this from the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning. John.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers. It's across the board. And we need technological development. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, in US SpaceX, the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York could be what it became. We need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs.
Well, it looks like they're not wasting any time on this issue. The Minister of Communications has gazetted a new regulation today, just 2 days after the meeting at the Oval Office. Just 2 days. As soon as the flight landed, basically, from the Oval Office, the regulation has been gazetted. This is what the regulation says. Take a look at this. Regulation in terms of Section 23 of the State Information Technology Agency Act of 1998 as amended. I, Solima Lati, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, hereby, after consultation with the relevant stakeholders and the Minister of Finance, insert the following in the general regulations published under Section 23 of the State Information Technology Act of 1998 as amended. Section 17.8, Efficiency of Procurement. if a designated department having complied with Regulation 8.11 is of the opinion that the agency will not be able to satisfy the department's requirements, or the department will be able to do so faster or at a lower cost, the department may give written notice to the agency. Following the receipt of a notice to the agency in terms of Regulation 17.81, if the agency responds to indicate that it is unable to meet the department's required within the period specified by the department, or responds that it is able to procure the information technology goods or services required by the department within the period specified by the department and provides the procurement schedule for doing so and cost, but the department is of the opinion that it can nonetheless procure the required information technology goods or services in accordance with the general procurement prescripts faster or at a lower cost, the department may proceed to procure the required information technology goods or services in accordance with the general procurement prescripts after notifying the agency and the relevant treasury of its decision. And Regulation 17.8 will take effect from the 1st of June 2025. This is the 23rd of May, basically 8 days from now, 1 week from now. Regulation 8.1, by the way, of the State Information Agency Act deals with the manner of procurement and preparation for soliciting bids. So this is about creating a path for Starlink to access South Africa. Elon Musk owns Starlink. Starlink, for those who are not following the company or familiar with it, is an internet service provider, and it is a satellite internet network, which is...
It's fixable. This economy, you give me 100 days as a benevolent dictator, I can turn this country around.
As a benevolent dictator?
Well, you've got to do it, because you've got to make some tough decisions.
What would be the tough decisions you'd make?
I'd privatize all the state-owned enterprises. Okay? Sell them off, because they are just a feeding trough for corruption.
Mm-hmm.
I would deregulate. I'd bring in a Doge as quickly as possible. We have 32 ministers in the cabinet. 32. Norway has 18. Argentina has 9. We have a ministry for women. What does that person do? I mean, it's ridiculous. And all the ministers have a deputy minister. There are 34 deputy ministers. So we have 76 ministers that all have blue light brigade, security, flying business and first class. The waste is, we have 1.4 million state employees. The waste is off the charts. It's fixable. You just cut the cost, hive off divisions like any turnaround situation in a business that you've had to deal with. You know, go to the debt holders and say, you're not paying interest for 3 years. Go to the equity holders and say, you got 5 cents on the dollar, pal. Take it or leave it. You cut out management. You cut costs. You hive off divisions that aren't working. You can only do that if you're a benevolent dictator, and you do it quickly. You close the borders. You kick out illegal foreigners. You do what Trump's done, but we're in a much more tragic situation.
You have any plans of running? You have any plans of doing politics?
No.
No plans of running?
I was 65 this year.
The president's 79 years old. The previous guy behind performs 82 years old.
Patrick, don't do this to me.
No, but do you have any interest? Like, if the opportunity arose, would you entertain it?
No. Here's the problem. Do you have adult ADHD?
As an individual?
Yeah. I do.
I have a lot of issues.
I have a lot of issues too.
Maybe one of them, yes.
But one of them is I can't sit still for half an hour in a meeting with people who haven't done their homework, where I know what they're going to say, and I finish their sentences. Can you imagine being in a cabinet with half of the people are stupid, haven't done their homework, some still believe in communism?
What do you think Trump is doing?
Yeah, but he's got very good people around him. I mean, look at Marco Rubio.
You can't find good people? You're saying South Africa, this magical place, doesn't have good people?
No, it has.
So let's find them.
I know, but I'd have to replace the whole cabinet.
In memory of the farmers who have tragically lost their lives in South Africa, we honor their dedication, resilience, and the vital role they played in feeding the nation. These men and women rose with the sun, worked the soil with hope and heart, and stood as pillars in their communities. Their loss is not just felt by their loved ones, but by a country that relies on their labor and love for the land. May their lives be remembered with gratitude and their legacies live on through every harvest sown in peace. The Brics bloc is navigating a pivotal phase ahead of its 17th summit, scheduled for July 6-7, 2025 in Rio de Janeiro. Under Brazil's presidency, the group is emphasizing enhanced trade cooperation and a gradual shift from U.S. dollar dependence. India has urged member nations to eliminate intra-bloc export controls to strengthen supply chains and mutual trade. However, Brazil's central bank director, Nilton David, expressed skepticism about the bloc's ability to amass sufficient BRICS-denominated assets to challenge the dollar's dominance in the next decade. Meanwhile, the BRICS Plus expansion continues, with Indonesia joining in January 2025, although Saudi Arabia remains undecided due to its strategic ties with the U.S. The upcoming summit is anticipated to address energy cooperation, digital payment systems, and global governance reforms, reflecting the bloc's evolving role in the international arena, a major breakthrough in renewable energy technology. Scientists have developed a new solar panel that's twice as efficient. This could revolutionize how we power our homes and cities. Imagine cutting your energy bills in half and reducing our carbon footprint significantly. Stay tuned for more updates on this exciting development. This is a game changer for our planet. Follow for the latest news and insights. Let's move to Brics' latest update. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.